Welcome in, everybody, to Amalgamation Nation. We're recording live here on Tuesday, March 23rd, 2021. It is episode 152. I got that wrong on the tweet earlier, but it's definitely 152. This is a Sports Talk Tuesday episode. We got a lot to get into, including March Madness and all the craziness that happened over this opening weekend and the sadness that came with it as well. NFL news, which also brings sadness because of the Chicago Bears, and a bunch of other sport topics as well. As always, you can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram by hitting at AMNationPod. Make sure you hit that follow button. On YouTube, search Amalgamation Nation and hit that sub button. On podcast platforms, you can listen to us such as Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and more. You can follow us on those, leave a review, a comment as well. That is always appreciated. If you want to get yourself some fresh merch, it's teesprings.com/store/amnation-undead Red Bull. You can find it in the podcast description. And when you're listening, you can also find it on our pinned tweet and down below on twitch.tv/undead Red Bull in David's description as well. And while you're there, make sure you follow and sub to David as well. If you have Amazon Prime, you get a free sub a month. So give it to Undead Red Bull. We've had a lot of shows come out over the last few days. We had Weebisode 12, which is pretty dope. We also had a Justice League Snyder Cut review that just came out as well. The BK and I did. That was really fun as well. So check those out. And the rest of this week, we got the sports show, and then we've got the gaming show on Thursday. We're prepping for another Weebisode review. It won't be this weekend because I'm rewatching it to really. I haven't watched Avatar in so long, so I'm rewatching it, and then we'll get into that. And next Tuesday will not be your standard sports show. It'll be the MLB preview show. We'll go division by division and discuss that as well. If you want to be a part of any of the shows, or if you want to, I thought about this too. If you wanted to even just submit questions for us that start the show, right? Questions of the show. You can do that too. It's at 815-556-9089. Either leave a voicemail or text the show, whichever suits your pleasure. And of course, I'm the anime we're watching. Booze Cruising, Olivia Munn's Leg and John Cena's following hostess with the mostest himself, Ryan Green Machine Ebner. And joining me this evening from North Carolina, Brendan B.K. Kennerly. BK, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good. And since you've been talking about March sadness and all this stuff, and as the old saying goes, April showers bring May flowers. So I think it's March sadness brings April gladness. I think that's what it's going to be.
Nailed it.
It's a little positive thing for you there.
I love it. Thank you so much. Thank you. It's much needed. We'll get into it, but it was tough. Also joining us this evening from twitch.tv/undead Red Bull, David, how are you, sir?
I'm doing pretty great. And remember, quack, quack.
It's true. That's true. I want to point out that on Saturday when we were at dinner, David said, man, there just hasn't been as many upsets today. That's crazy. And then Sunday morning starts with a fucking dagger to my heart. And I was just like, it's because I cut my hair. This is why. It's because I cut my fucking hair. Son of a bitch.
I'm going to roll with it. Blaming you now.
It's true. It is my fault.
You know what? No. I blame your sister. She went to the enemy's territory.
Oh, she was up at Loyola. That is true. She got cocky. Drinking Four Locos out there at Loyola. Mommy, I'll blame it on Erica as well. And rounding out the crew this evening, Petey Tahiti Argus. Pete, how are you?
I'm doing well, man. It's been weird today. I haven't looked at like 3 different basketball games at once, so I feel a bit off center. So I feel weird. I haven't really watched a sporting event today, so just coming down from the high of the weekend of watching 4 games all the time. So yeah, 100%. But no, I'm doing well. I'm doing well though.
That is good. Now, before we get going, I promised I would do this, so I will take my time here. Molly, Holly, Argus. That's so weird for me to say. I really wanted to say Brady, but that's not correct. I am sorry for the way that I have disrespected the land on past episodes of the show. I am not a true Cleveland hater. It is a fake. I am a Cleveland lover, as everybody knows. Lover of mustard. Lover of Chief Wahoo. Not the Indians themselves, but Chief Wahoo. Lover of the land. So, Molly, I do apologize. And I will respect and love the land more moving forward, except when the White Sox play the Indians. When the Bulls and Cavs are good, the Bulls play the Cavs. And also when the Bears play the Browns. Whenever that happens. Then I can't be respectful. You know what I'm saying? I gotta have limits,
Or when Illinois plays Ohio State.
Oh no, yeah, but that's different though. It's not Cleveland, so
No.
she's cool with that. She gets
No.
that. She gets that. Respect, Molly. She gets that. All right, so
Yeah.
there you go, Molly. I'm sorry, heart you, bestie. And now let's carry on with the rest of the show. The NHL, not too much to dive into, thank the Lord, but the NHL Board of Governors did vote to change the draft lottery. Fun fact, Ryan didn't even know how the draft lottery works, so it is what it is. But the lottery will determine the first 2 picks. Only this time now, moving forward, teams can only move up a max of 10 spots by winning one of the 2 lotteries instead of, I think there's like usually 5 or some shit. NHL ruled also that a franchise can win the lottery no more than twice in a 5-year span. Is there anybody that has something on that? Because like I said, I am very uneducated when it comes to this.
Me too.
Oh, okay. Good.
Yeah, I had no idea. No idea.
Good. That's what I want. Moving along here.
It's fun to watch.
I mean, all I would say is that would have fucked the Blackhawks back when we sucked. Because that's when we got
true.
Taves and Kane, because we had 2 first picks within that 5-year span. So we can't get a lottery in no more than twice in a 5-year span. So if you suck for 5 years, like, I don't know, sorry to call it out, DK, but if you're the Orioles, it means like, from like if we're using baseball for a reference, or like if you're the Cleveland Browns, you're like, oh, you can't get the
5
first
years in a
pick.
row yet, so we're good.
Whoa.
No, but
Well-
you only get one in the 5 years. Is what it's saying.
You can only
Well,
go
wasn't-
It's
back.
only the
Can't
first
get
2
it-
picks,
oh, you
though.
can't get more than twice. So if you suck for 5 years, you only get it 2 times, and after that, well, you're shit out of luck.
Yeah, and I
Well,
guess.
wasn't
It's only the
Hold on.
first 2, so I ain't worried about it.
wasn't Taze third and wasn't Kane first?
Maybe. Honestly, who knows?
Maybe.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, you're probably right.
Yeah, I think Taze was the
think
third
at
overall
that,
pick.
that consideration, though, we would still be in that lottery consideration of this rule span, though.
Right.
But yeah, I think Dave was.
Yeah, he was the third overall pick.
Well,
Yeah.
you know, yeah, I can
Either
see
way.
I can see what you're saying there, where it could screw over a team, and it could also, you know, hockey's weird in that way. We're like, I don't know.
So
You know,
does that mean when the
baseball's like that
expansion
too, huh?
So when we have the Kraken that comes out this year, does that count as one of the rules for this potential lottery? Because technically they get a top seat. I don't know. Do they automatically get the first pick?
No,
Because
I
then-
don't think so.
Okay, I was
It's
gonna say,
like an expansion draft for
Yeah,
that
they'll get
word.
that.
Wasn't it last time each team had to like put 2 guys out there that like could get
Yeah.
picked up by the Knights?
Yeah, and Elaine said, yeah,
Those
no,
two
they
guys.
don't. They don't get just automatically the number 1 pick. So, but can't wait for Seattle Kraken, baby. Let's go. I'm excited.
Yep.
Before I let you take us to the pitch, BK, I'm going to squeeze in the
Oh.
NBA real fast because there's nothing there either
there?
too
That's
much.
fine.
Besides, obviously saddened for the passing of Elgin Baylor. Passed away this yesterday, I believe, on Monday. That was super sad. I saw everybody around the league talking about that and doing tributes and stuff. I also saw the really weird thing today trending about because Kyrie Irving's birthday and like who's the better player, Kyrie or AI? And I was like, all right, AI. Yeah, it's probably Allen Iverson. Probably Allen
It's
Iverson.
Allen Iverson. It's Allen
What are we
Iverson.
doing here?
Yeah, what are we
What?
doing? It's because there's no March Madness, Pete. You know, everybody else also used to watching like 4 games at once, so now they don't know what to do. They don't know what to do, and they start acting
Allen
wild.
Iverson led a 76ers team by himself
Yeah.
to the NBA championship and like lost to just like the Lakers dynasty of Kobe and Shaq. Like, yeah, no one else. Yeah,
I mean-
no one else.
Exactly.
I mean, that Sixers team that he led there, I mean, it's probably second or third worst team that make it to the finals. I mean, LeBron, when he did that against the Spurs, that team was trash. I mean, that he brought to the finals. Like, that, I mean, yeah, he had Dikembe Mutombo, but, like, Dikembe was at the end. There was no scoring on that team. Everybody knew AI was going to score. So, whoever does that comparison, God, just, come on. Are you serious?
Yeah.
I guarantee you Mutombo probably didn't even average like 5 points a game. He probably averaged like 3 points and I'd say 10 rebounds max.
Yeah.
2 blocks.
Yeah.
We'll get 2
Yep.
blocks still.
So yeah, I saw that today. I was like, that's a good way to start the Tuesdays. And also just to point out, LeBron does have a high ankle sprain, so now no AD and no LeBron for a while. Does seeding matter to the Lakers? My answer to that is no. I think they'd rather just be healthy. Listen, they're coming off of them and the Miami Heat having the shortest offseason. And you saw the Heat, it took a toll on them, obviously, because the Heat got off to a really slow start. And now they've caught fire, no pun intended. So I think the Lakers kind of in that same boat, right? They're tired. But I mean, they didn't look at too much, but they are banged up. So now they just get rest, and whatever happens, happens. They're going to still run the West. It is what it is. As soon as they're healthy, they're going to run the West. It's fine. So let's see what else. I think that's about it. Like I said, next week is the MLB preview show. I won't get any of that. So BK, I will hit that music for you, sir, because it's time for you to take everybody to the pitch. It's time for BK to take you to the pitch.
It's just so... I'm going to end with the Inter Miami talk. But first off, let's start off with Arsenal in the Europa League. They beat Olympiacos, advanced on aggregate 3-2. They're going to face Slavia Prague in the next round, the quarterfinals. That game's going to be on my birthday, April 8th there. So, like I said, April gladness. It's coming, hopefully, knock on wood. Man United advanced in the Europa League as well, beating AC Milan on aggregate 2-1. They face Granada in the quarters. Then Tottenham played at Tottenham, so that was great. They just lost completely. They were actually up going into the second leg of the game. It's like they won the first game 2-0. They lost the next game 3-0. So they are out, crashing out of the Europa League. Next up, we have the Champions League, which is kind of the top tier. That's the NCAA tournament. Europa is the NIT. In Champions League action, Chelsea beat Atletico Madrid 3-0 on aggregate. They advanced to the quarters as well to face Porto. Liverpool beat RB Leipzig 4-0 on aggregate to face Real Madrid in the quarters. Man City advanced to the quarters as well, beating Borussia Mönchengladbach 4-0 on aggregate, and they face another German club, Borussia Dortmund, in the next round. Now, so back to the Premier League here with Arsenal. They had a crazy game against West Ham on Sunday. Got down 3-0 in the first half. Pulled one back at the end of the first half there and scored another 2 in the second half and actually finished this tie game 3-3 in a London derby there at West Ham. So it was a great game, fun to watch. Really kind of on a knife's edge as an Arsenal fan. If you're a casual fan, probably a lot of fun to watch there for you. Wolves are unfortunately winless in their last 4 games here, and they hope to change that after the interlull against flatlining Liverpool. So that's a good thing. They face Liverpool on April 5th. There is a week off here. That's what the interlull means. There you go. Yeah, maybe they'll bring you a birthday wish. There you go.
It might.
All right, so the discussion topic here that Ryan actually put in the notes here. Inter Miami. Is it CF or is it FC?
It said CF in the article.
Okay.
So either they fucked it up.
It just depends. So in England, because they speak English like us, it's like Arsenal FC Football Club, but like Miami, so maybe they're going like Spanish. You see, Club de Football.
Oh.
So maybe that's where they were going, or like club football, kind of going along those lines. I don't know. Just spitball on that one. The co-owner David Beckham spoke with ESPN's Taylor Twellman. He used to play on the U.S. men's national soccer team. Great guy. Discussing the potential signings of Ronaldo, Messi, or Neymar. Quote unquote, when we announced Miami, there was always going to be talk about what players we were going to bring in, whether it was Ronaldo, Messi, Neymar. I actually don't think it's a tough one for players to decide, to be honest, because it's a great place. What do we think the likelihood, if any at all, of these players come over to the MLS after they finish up in Europe?
Yeah, that was my big thing, just because it's such an interesting thing to see. Like, as the MLS, I mean, it's a growing league. It continues to blossom. You're starting to see more clubs pop up and stuff as well. David Beckham going down to Miami, he made a great point that, like, when it comes to, like, if they're going to come over, Miami is such a booming place to be. I mean, now if you're spring breaking right now, you're kind of fucking up down there. But, in general, it's usually a good place to be. And I think I wouldn't be surprised. I think that'd be really cool, like, to get some of those big players over here to as they wind down their careers.
I also agree. I think you're going to continue to see them come over later in their career. And I think that's just what the MLS really needs to be. It's never going to be the NFL, the NBA, the NHL, or MLB. It's not. It's never going to pass any of them. It's honestly probably never going to pass NASCAR. But just just stay relevant on the fringes and just get the European guys when they come over and they're kind of finishing out their career. They get the payday, and so then you, as the American, can actually see them live and in person. Because when a bunch of those guys for European clubs, like when they do their preseason friendlies and all that, and the teams come over here to play, usually the top stars do not play. They're either on like vacation, they're not traveling, or like they don't suit up. It's usually that time for the younger guys, the guys that are really trying to make it into the team, much like NFL preseason. It's the same thing. Like you don't see the stars at all. So I think it's really, if the MLS just keeps doing that and can kind of steal those guys from the Chinese Super League, then then they're fine. But that's the issue. China's throwing big money, and they're even throwing them at some young players, like young Brazilians have gone over there to play. So that's something they're gonna have to compete with. So hopefully that's the selling point. You have to sell the big cities, Miami, New York, and LA.
Yeah,
but yeah, Chicago. Sorry, I mean to let y'all there.
That's all right. We
Chicago
don't even
Fire.
Yeah, they don't even really play in Chicago anymore. It's fine. They play in the outskirts and in the burbs, baby, out in the burbs. So it's cool. It's cool. But they're a good team. I know that. Frank called the MLS the retiring league of the world. See, there you go.
Yeah, and I think that's the perfect spot for them. Just like that's all they need to be, and they'll stay relevant that way too. Just because you just have the names at that point.
Right. It's just because I think big reason, like with soccer just not being as prevalent in everyday culture, you know what I mean? That's a big thing too. Oh, they do play back in Soldier Field, Frank, because they didn't. They were playing in Bridgeview, so not sure. They were at the SeatGeek Stadium or whatever, but I didn't know if they switched back or not. But we shall see. Any other soccer news, BK, or does that wrap it up for you?
That wraps up with a nice pretty bow.
Boom. Thanks for taking us to the pitch, BK. Before we get into all the March Madness talk, we do have a couple of other sport news, too, to get into. First, ECU baseball swept Illinois State. Oh, damn. Over the weekend and now sit at number 8 in the nation. ECU played at number 24 UNC tonight, and they lost 8-1. Funny with college baseball, I was like trying to kind of like keep up with it for a second, mostly the Illini, that was about it. And I was about to be like, Dad, because we're going to see that game in April. But hey, Dad, they're pretty good. And I looked and they got like blanked, but like 10-0 by Michigan State. I was like, never mind. Don't worry about what I was gonna say. It's cool. It's cool. But ECU, look at that, getting in the top 10, kicking some ass. But they did lose tonight. But that's all right. That's how you got to rebound.
It's as long as you win the weekend series, that's what you need to do. You can lose the little midweek games because you only have 1 or 2 midweek games. It's just winning the weekend series 2-1 or sweeping. So then they'll be fine. They'll keep moving up. They were out of the top 10. 8 teams in the top 10 were from the SEC.
Well, damn. All right then.
Yeah.
And I'm sure everybody saw over the weekend. So the men's tournament and the women's tournament, they happen at the same time, NCAA tournament, and they are like trying to keep everybody like kind of together and on a schedule. We talked about this last week on the March Madness preview show, like the players having to follow a routine and all these things, and they're like sharing all this stuff. So they were sharing a weight room as well. And one of the players, I cannot remember who she played for, posted the video of like what the men's weight room section looked like.
Oregon.
Oh, Oregon. There you go. Wow, just quack it up. And then what the women's side looked like, and it was very disrespectful. Just utterly disrespectful. They just had that. She showed the little stack of like the rubber weights that like would go up to maybe 10 pounds, maybe 15 at most. Real disrespectful, and then like put the NCAA on blast, and obviously then it gained a ton of traction on Twitter and on TikTok and all that stuff. And man, NCAA caught fire from a variety of different athletes, a variety of different celebrities, and just everybody all over the place. Pete, did you happen to see that over the weekend?
Yeah, and Ryan, am I shocked? No, it's the NCAA. We did something stupid. Like, what a surprise. I mean, honestly, what a surprise the NCAA messed this up. Like, I mean, that's just so disrespectful, especially, I mean, it's 2021. Come on. Like, figure it out. And, like, like, to even have this, I mean, the amount of disrespect to women's sports for this, like, for the NCAA, like, what did they think when they put those weights in? Oh, this is fine? So, like, whoever put that in for logistics was like, oh, this is cool. Another perfect example of why the NCAA is run by a bunch of idiots. There you go. Boom.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah, not good. David, your thoughts on how the NCAA really, really fucked this up?
Yeah, they really fucked it up. um, like like I saw the tweet and I was like, holy crap, like really? And then all the stars, like you said, were tweeting about it, like. And then I like how like their response was like there was not enough space, and like she clearly shows how much space is in the entire arena for like all this weight rooms. What I thought was more disrespectful, like they thought, oh, they only needed yoga mats because like I like how there's a stack of yoga mats and then like a little like shit, like little weights that I would have in my basement. So we're talking like NCAA level now, and it's like what the fuck? Obviously, it was really uncalled for, and I'm glad they got called out on it. So, obviously, of course, they corrected it because I saw a follow up that she posted a video how powerful social media was, and she had a whole, or not she, but all the girls had a whole weight room now. So at least they corrected it, but it should have been that way to begin with.
100%. BK?
I saw there was some Twitter chatter earlier as well from the NCAA players saying something along the lines of they were not slavery along those lines, but like talking about how they're not being paid to play and all that stuff too. And Mark Emmert said he was gonna have to do something on social media here coming up in the next few days to address those concerns as well. So I don't think anyone's shocked that the NCAA is just continuing to screw up, and they'll get away with it. So I mean, it sounds bad that it's just to say it's just SOP, but it really is. It's just SOP for them just to be dumb.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I'm glad, of course, that they corrected it. Like everyone said, it should have been done from the first place, and the fact that she was able to put that on social media and it gathered so much storm is great. And you're getting it from everybody, whether it was Steph Curry, NFL players, different MLB players, different celebrities all over the place. We're just like, what the fuck is this? Like, what? I like Pete's point. Like, who put that in there? It's like, you know what? This is good. Yeah, this is good shit. It's kind of like who watched the first Justice League the first time when the directors had to look at it in the studio and said, that's good, we should put that out, which you can find on our last episode. We went over the Snyder Cut. But like, you know what I mean? Like, come on, figure this shit out. Think before you do shit. And the NCAA, of course, did not do that. But good that it's fixed. Glad that it's fixed. But yeah, that's just... Jesus Christ. Yeah, just real disrespectful. I was like, holy shit. I was like, man, I was all pumped up for the tournament. And I'm like, God damn, man. Come on. This is everybody. All the eyes are on you, right? We missed the March Madness tournaments where it's back. Here we go. And then you get that publicity, bad publicity. And it's not good. It's not good at all. Not good. Let's get into, I want to do it. I'm going to call an audible. Let's end with the tournament talk, and let's go into the NFL talk. I'm gonna call it Omaha. Calling it audible. Either way, it's nothing but sadness, but it's fine. So last week I promised that we would talk about the Bears situation, because last week we were doing the March Madness prediction show. I didn't want to sprinkle in other sports shit. It would have been a 3-hour show, and I didn't want to do that. So we'll do it here. So last week the Bears signed Andy Dalton to a 1-year deal, $10 million with incentives as well. To do so, they then had to release Kyle Fuller to clear up $11 million in cap. Now Akeem Hicks is exploring trade options because he's upset that he was rumored to be a part of the potential deal for Russell Wilson that the Bears supposedly tried, but Seattle said no, which I'm not going to fault the Bears on that. Allen Robinson did sign his franchise tag after it seemed like he didn't want to, and because he realized, wow, the wide receiver market is pure dog shit right now when it comes to signing these guys to contracts. The franchise tag $17.8 million, so it's not too shabby for a 1-year deal. He previously made $13, $14, and $50.8 million in his previous seasons with the Bears. Now, there's a lot to unpack. It's not a lot, it's just a big thing here. The Andy Dalton signing, I thought it would, like, maybe as time went on, I would get over it. but like I didn't. I didn't. It got worse, and it has festered like a nasty wound that needs to be taken care of. Like it just needs. It's bad. And Andy Dalton is better than Nick Foles. I will give it to that. I truly believe the Red Rifle is better than Nick Foles. I believe that. But here is how asinine and how fucking stupid this organization's front office is. Last offseason, you could have signed Andy Dalton for much cheaper and didn't have to trade a 4th-round pick to get him like you did for Nick Foles. You could have just signed Andy Dalton super fucking cheap and then went from there. But no. We got to get Big Dick Nick, the savior of Philadelphia. We got to do it. Saint Nick out there in Philly. And he's dog shit. Absolute dog shit. And the best part is he was coming off a broken collarbone in Jacksonville. So what is the point of doing that? I said I'm not going to follow him on the Russell Wilson thing because he can't. Like, I mean, listen, the Bears went out there, supposedly offered 3 first-round picks, 2 defensive players, and Seattle said no. Seattle is not in a position to have to trade Russell Wilson. That's a big thing. But to then have to release Kyle Fuller because, of course, you weren't going to find a trade partner because everybody's like, well, we know you have to get rid of him. Why the fuck are we going to trade you anything for him? We'll just go out here and pay him ourselves. We don't got to lose any assets. The team is going to fall apart in a really bad way here where we're losing defensive pieces, which was the only saving grace of the team. I think at this point, if you're the Bears, you have to just blow the whole thing up. Like, let's go. We're moving on. If you got to trade Khalil Mack, you trade Khalil Mack. You get what assets you can for him, and you just start to completely blow it up. I just need to know how Ryan Pace is sitting there like, oh, man. Oh, I'm going to save my job. Andy Dalton. Right there. That hot ginger man right there. Look at him. See his hair? See the little swoop? That guy. That sexy beast. I want Andy Dalton. Son of a bitch. David, I'm going to go to you. I know you're not.
Don't say a fellow Bears fan because I don't know what you're talking
you're
about.
like a former, like, things got kind of rough, so I'm out Bears fan. So I'll go to you here for your thoughts on the Bears moves.
I could have did those moves. There you go. Pay me millions of dollars. Voila. I could be the Bears GM right now. All right.
I do better in Madden. Fuck.
Easily could be the Bears GM right now. That's all I gotta say. Yeah. The moment I said I was not going to be a Bears fan this season was the moment they said they were going to keep their GM and their head coach. I already knew it was going to be downhill from that point on. And I wasn't wrong. So
was there a glimmer of thought in your mind though when, okay, if we trade for Russell Wilson, I'm cool?
I mean, it would be cool, but we would still suck. So
how bad though? See, I don't know if it would have been as bad.
It would be like 2 years ago watching Russell Wilson run around for his life, still be able to throw the ball deep, score a touchdown, still potentially win because your defense could try to hold on. Mm-hmm. It's literally, that's the exact same memo because that's what Seattle was a couple years ago. Their defense was their shining star, and they just had a quarterback chuck it downfield and run for his life the whole time. It just didn't look that bad because, he actually could connect on the Hail Mary passes, whereas Trubisky just throws it 50 yards past the wide receiver. So that's the difference maker there, right? He's able to hit those long throws while he's scrambling around and running for his life, whereas Trubisky fucking just chucks it in the dirt 8 yards away from the receiver or something. So
the savior
there's your difference. But the defense is still the same. I would say that they would be both similar, right? They were both great defenses. I'm not going to say which one's better or worse, but similar MO. Would it get us far? Maybe, because at least Robinson, who signed his tender. So that makes kind of sense. But knowing that we were going to lose 2 key access, obviously you already knew that I was never big on Kyle Fuller. I never thought he was the greatest corner, should I say. Obviously he is good, but I never thought he was phenomenal or beyond great where he deserved all that money and his high praise. So that one doesn't mind me, but obviously we already know without Hicks, the Bears defensive line sucks donkey balls. So and it's been proven multiple times when he is out, the run defense is non-existent. So it is what it is. Hopefully they trade him because obviously it's a rebuild, and then now we just wasted a whole nother year with Twiddledee and Twiddledoo. So there you go.
To Elaine's point that he'll save his job because he'll get the playoffs every time, and then peace out in the
He ain't
first
making
round.
playoffs.
They ain't making the playoffs this time. I promise you
He
that.
ain't making playoffs this time.
I
Not even
promise
close.
that. I would gamble a lot on that one. That ain't
The
happening.
only way we make the playoffs is if you get like 5
if-
years ago Andy Dalton.
No, if they extend the playoff to like 10 teams on each side, then the Bears probably have a shot.
Yeah, to be honest, we only got made the playoffs this year because it was extended. Just remember that.
Yeah, it's fucking gross. Honorary Bears fan BK. Your thoughts?
Feel sad for you.
Just don't know what they're thinking with the Andy Dalton thing. Just, I mean, $10 million to him is just so. It's got to be frustrating. I mean, are you that much better off with Andy Dalton compared to Mitch Trubisky? And Mitch Trubisky was $2.5 million. Like, you could have saved money, just kept Mitch around. He knows the offense. He's got a rapport with the wide receivers already. You know, just keep them. And I pulled up their stats from last year. So, Mitch Trubisky here. They both started 9 games. So, this actually kind of like works out, surprisingly. Mitch Trubisky, 67% completion percentage, threw for just over 2,000 yards, 16 TDs, 8 interceptions, ran for just under 200 yards, had another TD there. His QBR, 61.3. Andy Dalton, like I said, also started 9 games. We'll round up a little bit here, 65% completion percentage, so slightly less. 2,170 passing yards, 14 TDs, 8 picks. So same amount of picks, 2 less TDs. At just over 100 rushing yards, no TDs. So you're paying $8 million more for the same person who, at least in my opinion, you know exactly what you're going to get with Andy Dalton. Like, at Mitch Trubisky is improving, or like it's still like maybe an unknown. He's like he could still get better. I'll say at least
Right.
he could still get better. Andy Dalton's not going to get any better. So just it's confusing. There's no. We talked about yesterday in the Snyder Cut. I'm gonna tie this together here. Watch this. This is gonna be awesome. All right, so we talked about with the Snyder Cut. One of the beautiful things was that there was a nice cohesive vision, and that's why that movie works so well. And when the original Justice League cut, when Joss Whedon came in, it was a different vision. You could tell the movie was all jumbled. There was no cohesive vision by Bears leadership right now, and that's why you just get this mess, this hodgepodge of doo-doo, of just doo-doo. So there's no cohesive vision up top, and that's going to affect what goes down below. There is a trickle-down effect in that case. If you do have bad leadership up top, it will affect what's happening down below.
Of course.
Undoubtedly.
Of course. I agree 100%. Yeah, it's a clusterfuck. Pete, Packer fan here. Your thoughts on what the fuck is going on in Chicago?
Well, it's just, I mean, as a Packer fan, it's fantastic that Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy are still there. I mean, my God, Beavis and Butthead are running the Bears, just like a absolute travesty. Like, I mean, yeah, the Bears were in the Nickelodeon game, but if you look at the Bears season, nobody really thought this was a playoff team. Right. So, like, I mean, yeah, they went all out for Russell Wilson, but did they? Did they? Who leaks this information? Because we know in the NFL it's a bunch of BS. So the Bears probably might have just leaked this and just been like, hey, look, fans, we tried to get Russell Wilson. Like, they could have just leaked that. So it's just complete BS. You brought in Andy Dalton, who, like, was a backup in Dallas. Like, it's not, and then you tell him that he's going to be your starter. What did you see last year? And BK touched on it. What did you see last year that said starter? starter, Andy Dalton. Like, I mean, yes, Andy Dalton looks great in orange. Like, when the Bears rock an orange jersey with the orange flow, he's going to look dynamite. Yes, he is going to look great in that. Yes, he will. But, I mean, what did you expect from this? Like, I mean, the mistake happened a few years ago. When you went all in on Khalil Mack, you put your franchise on Mitch Trubisky. That's what you did. And to BK's point, in terms of saving money, like, you could have just brought back Trubisky. I'm sure Trubisky would have been fine on a less deal or a less amount per year. Obviously, he took a backup role in Buffalo. Okay, bring him back. Give him another year with Nagy. If you can't get Russell, okay, it's the backup plan. Like, that would be better than bringing in a new guy. Also, like, Andy Dalton, like, I get it that they're bringing him in because he was the offensive coordinator, I think. God, I forgot his name. Who's the offensive coordinator? But he was his offensive coordinator in Cincinnati. So, like, I get the familiarity aspect of it. Like, I understand that. But it's like, Allen Robinson doesn't even want to sign for $18 million. Basically, he just, like, is like, okay, I guess I'll sign here. Akeem Hicks wants out. Khalil Mack, it's a matter of time before he's like, what the hell are we doing here? There's no direction. It's just like, it's a travesty. And like, as a Packer fan, I mean, from the standpoint of that, it's like great to see. But then, like, I mean, from you guys and like all of my family that's like Bears fans, it's terrible because it's like, I mean, it's basically, thank God for Detroit, okay? Because, like, if it wasn't Detroit, like, they would be talked about more, like, in this division, like, what are you doing? Because, I mean, Detroit's, like, the ultimate, like, what are you doing team. Because, I mean, they bring in Jared Goff, and they're like, you know, whatever. But it's just, I feel so bad for Bears fans. I really do, because you went all in for this, like, 1 year because the Bears want to save money because they don't want to fire their coach. They don't want to bring in a new GM. I mean, what has Ryan Pace done that's good besides bringing Khalil Mack? He hasn't done anything. Like, it's, I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me. And yeah, and Ryan and David, I don't think he will be a Bears fan. I mean, from the sounds of it, and then honorary Bears fan BK, like, it's sad. It's just sad. It's just sad to watch, like, this team, because, I mean, we looked at their defense like 2 years ago, and, I mean, the conversations we were having like 2 years ago, hey, Bears going to the Super Bowl this year? It's like, in 2 years, boom, this thing just falls off. And, like, and I don't think it's all Mitch's fault. I really didn't think it was all his fault. I think it's the people in the building. There's something. You got to have a culture in there to just, there's something missing there. And something needs to change. And, I mean, I don't know if, like, I mean, the roster they have, what sucks is the roster they have is probably 8-8 or 9-8, you know, if a 17-game season. That's what the roster probably is, because they're going to win games.
Absolutely.
Like,
absolutely. They're in the middle of the park.
They're in the middle.
Yeah.
They're stuck in the middle.
And that's exactly where you don't want to be. You either want to be trying to win or just bad.
Yeah,
I mean, the only way that Andy Dalton signing makes sense to me is if they get like Mac Jones, or if they get a young quarterback and Andy can kind of teach him. Like, that's the only way I can kind of see, okay, now I understand a little bit of the philosophy of what they're going with. But if they say, hey, Andy, this is you, and then next year, you know, we're in the same situation, then it's like, what are we doing? But, I mean, hey, who knows?
Yeah, it's a good point, too. That's a good point, too. To Frank's point about the Bears giving Cutler a franchise tag, I'll let you know, Frank. Cutler lives in your head rent-free every single week. That's all right. Because he's, you know, the go-to Chicago Bears quarterbacks. It is what it is. Ryan Pace, though, when you talk about what has he done, yeah, his starting quarterback room has been Mitch Trubisky, Mike Glennon, Nick Foles, and now Andy Dalton. Here we are.
I just want to touch on P2's point here. If they're going to draft a QB, like, they have to leverage the future again, though, like with their future draft assets, because it would just be so idiotic to do again. And, like, because they have to trade up. No quarterback of the big fours of Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Justin Fields, and Trevor Lawrence. None of those guys are making it to where they are. So, like, they have to trade up. How comfortable are you, Ryan, with them trading up everything in the future to get one of those guys?
No, and that's my biggest problem too. Like, I love that, you know, Bears Twitter right now. It's a dangerous place to be. Be careful out there. And it's like, oh, the Bears are going to go and let's go get Mac Jones or let's go do this. And I'm not saying I have anything wrong with Mac Jones. It's just, do I trust this scouting department and this general manager to pick the quarterback that's going to be the next one, right, for the Bears? The answer to that is no. I watched him skip out on Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson for a guy that played 13 games out there in North Carolina in the ACC and said, that guy can fucking sling it. That fucking guy. And the best part is Mitch can't throw a deep ball to save his life. So, although still sad, like I agree with everybody there that I would have just taken Mitch on the cheaper deal. Like, why not just run it back? Like, if you're really doing this, because that's what you're doing essentially by bringing Pace and Nagy back one more year to finish their contracts, is you're essentially saying we're going to run it back one more time. Why on earth did you believe that Andy Dalton is better than Mitch Trubisky do that for, 5 times the price? It's kind of wild. It's kind of wild when you really think of it.
Yeah, you didn't have to sign Mitch to the 5th-year option. Like P2 said, he probably would have, like, you said, like, look, we're not going to do the 5th-year option, but we'll bring you back, and, like, for a lot less money, like, let's work out, like, on a 1-year. And it's easy to, I think, for this offseason, to pitch the prove-it deals. Hey, prove it, which will lead into our next point.
Yes, indeed. It will. So Juju Smith-Schuster, David's favorite NFL player, takes less money to return to Pittsburgh. He's to return to Pittsburgh on a 1-year, $8 million deal. Had more money offered to him by Kansas City and Baltimore. So, BK, just because Baltimore did get name dropped. Oh, David, hello, welcome back. Juju saying no to Baltimore and Kansas City to go to Pittsburgh. Your thoughts?
I love the commitment to the bit there, David. That was awesome. Love the commitment. They're actually popping out. Love it. And honestly, here, I don't know if you guys. I think that was actually a super smart job by Juju. Because the salary cap is so low. The money for wide receivers hasn't been good. They've all talked about it. The money hasn't been where they want it to be. So return to Pittsburgh where you're comfortable in the offense. You're going to be the number one. You know Ben Roethlisberger. You know everyone. You don't have to learn new stuff. Like, you can maybe even expand your route tree a little bit. Absolutely do that for a 1-year, $8 million deal, and make bank next year. Like, and he'll probably have a better season, you would assume, because he's returning to the same offense. Like, it makes a lot of sense for him. It really, really does. I can't hate on him. Can I hate on from the Kansas City perspective, like, a little bit? Yeah, potentially, because they're knocking on the door. Like I said, if he wants to maximize his earnings, I think this was absolutely the correct decision. His agent or whoever was advising him, maybe he decided this himself, like, the best decision for his future possible.
100%. David, your least favorite player, Juju Smith-Schuster, going back to Pittsburgh and not going to Kansas City or Baltimore. Your thoughts?
Good for Kansas City and Baltimore. That's all I gotta say. You're welcome, DK. Great news for Baltimore. Best news probably all week.
Sure, you don't have to see him dancing while he's dropping balls. That's pretty cool.
I didn't even know that song Corvette. Like,
Corvette.
I don't think I even actually heard it all the way through. This is
the TikTok.
Yeah, as I was saying, BK, you're there for the sea shanties and Duke. I get it, bro. I get it. You're not there for
Corvette.
Yeah,
I just found out who Bad Bunny was. Hey, Peter, do you know who Bad Bunny is?
Yeah, I know who Bad Bunny is, dude.
Damn it.
Yeah, dude, you are. Yeah.
Man. God. DK, showing off your age here. Come on, man.
Oof. Elaine says Pittsburgh's probably the only place I'll let him do TikToks on the reg. If Pittsburgh allows that fucking man to do more, I want Mike Tomlin gone. Get a hold of your team.
Right.
Get the fuck a hold of it.
Right, that was probably in the contract. Why do you think he took less money? He could do his TikToks.
Him and Chase.
Like, that was probably in the contract.
Him and Chase, when they're getting their fucking ass pounded by the Browns, and it's like, yeah, this is a good
Yep.
time. This is a good time to sit here and talk on TikTok and do our dances. You guys they're just stupid as shit. So I hope that he fixes that. I mean, listen, I didn't hate the deal. Like, my dad absolutely despises it because he just wants Juju gone. He's like in that David camp. Like, this dude's a piece of shit. Get him the fuck out of here. Now, for different reasons, obviously, but
I would draft him and let him sit on my bench the entire year. I would personally do that. I would draft him just because my history of my team of people I draft. Not to put any bad juju, but I would purposely draft him just for that reason.
man, I tell you what. Pete, your
Wrong
thoughts
with
here
this one.
on Juju going back to Pittsburgh.
No, I think BK kind of touched upon it. I mean, it was smart from a financial perspective. I mean, he doesn't have to learn a new offense, so I get it. And yeah, I mean, the salary cap's gonna go up. We talked about it last podcast, or maybe a few weeks ago when we were talking about the new TV deal coming into fruition for the NFL. So yeah, it's gonna jump up. If there's a chance for him to put numbers up, it would be now. If it was maybe 5 or 6 maybe years ago or years from now, maybe Juju goes to the Chiefs and tries to get a ring. But now, I mean, it's all about maximizing everything here for him. So yeah, it's smart to stay in Pittsburgh. But yeah, I mean, in terms of them winning a title compared to maybe Kansas City or Baltimore, maybe not the smartest decision. But from money perspective, after this, yeah, absolutely, this is the correct move for him.
Yeah, Pittsburgh feels a lot like this. We're gonna go one more time. Let's see. Saddle up one more time with old Big Ben, and let's see if we can get at least
How
third
bouncy
place.
though.
Yeah, right.
That's tough.
This is obviously really premature. The draft hasn't happened. I don't know the rest of the offseason yet, but the Steelers to me just seem like that's going to be a team that is going to be clawing for third in that North, depending on how Burrow comes back and what the Bengals do to benefit that team more. Otherwise, if it's the same old Bengals, they're fine. They're locked in at third. I'll give them that. But to compete with Baltimore or Cleveland at this point, it's gonna be really interesting to see the AFC North because there's
no Bud Dupree. They don't have Bud Dupree.
Yeah,
He's
he went
gone.
to the Titans. Yeah, he went to the Titans. So
Thank God, don't have to see Bud Dupree twice
I bet
a year.
dude's stud. I bet it's really paying the ass when you have to see Watt and him twice a year. I bet that is just an absolute.
BK, don't get your hopes up. You may run into him in the playoffs now.
Well,
We beat the Titans last year, though, homie. What's up?
but no,
Check those
but
seats.
no Bud Dupree though.
No Bud Dupree. Now it's
So then, I ain't worried about it.
Around-
I ain't worried about it.
That a boy. Yeah, Baltimore's got to get to the
worry about
playoffs anyway. So let's see what. I'm just kidding, BK. Your team's doing good. You're fine. He's gonna Lamar can run for 3,000 yards. Who gives a fuck? It's fine. The Patriots, though, boy, I tell you, Bill Belichick, all it took was one season of being mediocre and seeing Tom Brady win a ring elsewhere to really get his shit rolling. Bill Belichick and the Patriots decide we're going to throw all the monies out in free agency. All the monies, including Nelson Aguilar, which they played a fuck ton for, but okay, there you go. Go ahead and take Nelson Aguilar. Kendrick Bourne, Jonnu Smith, Hunter Henry, Matt Judon, Kyle Van Noy on the cheap, Raekwon McMillan, and Jalen Mills. Pete, your thoughts on Belichick and the Patriots just throwing all the money out there?
Well, I mean, that was a ton of signings. I think it hit a couple home runs, though. I like Jonnu Smith. I think that'll be really good for them. Hunter Henry is going to be awesome. I mean, if we think about, Patriots offenses that have really done well, they were back with Brady, is the tight ends. And also, you got to think about Cam Newton. Cam Newton loved Greg Olsen when he was in Carolina. So, and Cam loves throwing over the middle. So, I mean, I think this is perfect for both of them. The Nelson Aguilar, not really sure from the perspective of I'm not confident. I mean, Cam could obviously prove me wrong. Not really a big fan of his deep ball, so not really sure how that's going to work out. I think Kendrick Bourne was underrated there in San Francisco, but I mean, in San Francisco, Kyle Shanahan makes basically any offensive player kind of look good. So I'm not sure about that. BK could probably touch upon more for Matt Judon. The Kyle Van Noy, I think that was a great signing. Stupid signing by the Dolphins. You talk about another like team basically has no idea what they're doing. They have a captain in Kyle Van Noy on one of the best defenses last year and decide to cut him. And Bill's like, okay, come back to New England. That's fine. And then Jalen Mills, I mean, he's a solid corner. He's not. I mean, they already have a couple of really good corners there in New England. So all in all, I mean, it's kind of crazy to think about how many signings they had. But I mean, hey, that team had a lot of holes. So and this is kind of. I mean, they're not at the Pittsburgh standpoint where it's like, hey, final year, but this is kind of, let's see what we can do with our veterans. They're getting a couple guys back, that sat out due to COVID on defense last year. Yeah. But no, this is going to be a defensive first team. And it's probably going to look a lot like, Cam in Carolina where, they had their great defense and, just ball control and, kind of go from there. So I think it's going to look similar to, Ron Rivera, prime, Panthers days.
David, your thoughts on the Patriots backing up the money truck for free agents?
Yeah, they definitely went out and made a lot of moves and probably arguably got the 2 top tight ends on free agents market as well, which is also just shocking to think that you go out there and get 2 of the top at the same position. Yeah, their team is going to be definitely something to watch out for. They're going to compete with Buffalo for sure, especially with all the people that are coming back from COVID this year. Well, not really COVID. They just didn't play because of COVID last year. So yeah, those players back into the mix with everything else that they've added here, not even counting all the draft capital they have this year as well. I think they have a lot of draft picks as well to go with this. So the Patriots are going to be looking great going into this season right now. I wouldn't be surprised if they see something they like, that they don't try maybe moving up a couple of spots to get a person they prefer just because of how much draft capital they have right now. So plus they also got a lot of compensation picks from Tom Brady leaving. I think they got the most from any team this year. I think they got a 3rd, a 4th, and a 5th or something like that. So they got a lot of extra picks on top of that. Yeah. And then to be honest, Cam Newton was decent at the beginning of last year when he actually had some help and some weapons.
And then he got COVID too. That also played a big role in it too. Yeah.
COVID and after he had no wide receivers, I forget who's their top wide receiver. He got hurt.
Nikhil
Edelman.
Oh, Edelman. Yeah.
Yeah, Edelman. It was all downhill from there. And then after that, like who's he throwing to? Just nobody's, right? So
some dudes at the local Boston market.
They brought in some wide receivers. They got the tight ends. They got the big targets. I think Cam will have a decent year. So having him re-sign was not bad neither. I know we didn't talk about that, but that's a free sign. So overall, the Patriots, they're looking like they're going back into the playoffs. At least right now on paper.
Yeah, as you do. BK, I'm going to go to you here. I also want to point out he did say arguable the top 10. What about your boy Jared Cook? I mean, he's still out there. BK, so your thoughts on the Patriots making all these signings?
Cook is a bad football player.
No,
wait, no, Jared Cook got signed, man. He's with the Chargers.
Oh, sorry.
I know.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm in a group chat with some, and there's a big Chargers fan in there. I love him. Shout out to Jordan. But like, he was like, "Oh, we got Jared Cook." Like, Herman's gonna make him look good. I was like, he's had a Hall of Fame quarterback stolen for years, and he's never been good. He's not gonna start now. It's like the man is just so inconsistent. But that's just besides the point. Before I go into Jared Cook diatribe about how much he sucks at football. The Patriots, wow! Like, if you're the Dolphins and Bills, you gotta watch out because, like everyone's talked about, they had a lot of guys opt out because of COVID, and then they made all these. They made not a splash. I mean, this is like a tsunami, like in free agency here. You got the top tight end in Jonnu Smith, who's just going to be essentially their Gronk, and then you have Hunter Henry. Like they're going to have a 2 tight end set, like what they did with Gronk and Hernandez. They're going to run the ball a lot too because they love using the fullback. They're going to control the clock. They're going to work. They're going to work the hell out of their defense too. But it's going to play to their advantage, and they're going to try to hold you to the least amount of possessions possible, and they'll be able just to hold on. Like if they have to get those grinded out yards, that's what you have Cam for. You even have 2 tight ends in there. You probably even and just put a fullback right in front of them, and you're just like, cool, get a yard, and he'll get it every time. I'm super confident in that. Matt Judon, it was. I want him to stay with the Ravens, but because he's been our leading sack producer the past few years. But I never thought that he really did enough on his own ability to warrant the contract that he got. In my personal opinion, I'm not necessarily saying he was overpaid, if that makes sense. I just don't think. I just know kind of edge rushers go for so much in the market, but I don't think he brought enough to the table, like to be like paid like a top tier one, like a number one edge rusher. I don't. Just never thought of him that way. I think the real coup in free agency, like P2 touched on, getting Kyle Van Noy. Dolphins are just freaking idiots. And then okay, he goes back to to Papa Bill there. And Papa Bill's like, hey, go back to the family. Go back to the family. And then guess what? He's gonna play the Dolphins twice a year. He's gonna be fucking pissed off. So he's gonna have 2 fuck you games a year where he can just wreck Dolphins players. Just absolutely wreck them. I don't understand. Like, why can't the Ravens be in that division? It must be so much fun. It must be so much fun every year. You have the Jets, you have the Finns, you have the Bills. I mean, yeah, the Bills are doing good here now. But man, the Jets, wow. Talk about lost franchises. They're like the Lions of the AFC. And it's like, we all thought the Dolphins were trending in the right direction last year. They've made some questionable decisions here. Because guess what? I guarantee you, if you're Tua, do you really even want to be in Miami now? After all the talks of them trying to get Deshaun Watson, you're like, oh, wow, I was just drafted first-round quarterback. This team doesn't even want to commit to me? What's going on here? Why do you want to be there long-term, even if you have some great years here? Why do you want to stay? Nah, I'll go elsewhere. That's someone that wants me. Screw that. Like, I just don't get it. Hats off to the Patriots. They're making the playoffs. Calling it now. But they're making the playoffs. It's done.
There it is. That I think you are more than likely correct. The NFL also is planning to have the NFL draft this time in person instead of virtual. I remember that. Like, that seems so long ago last year, so early on into the pandemic, of like Roger Goodell sitting there falling asleep, looked like he's probably drinking a bunch of scotch, just getting hammered and fucked up, and he's like celebrating. He's like, oh my God, let's hurry this shit up. Come on. But we
need the hookup. You need the hookup, Pete.
There it is. He's going. They're going to be in Cleveland, in the land. Pete will not be there
in the draft.
Yeah, Pete won't be there.
I'm going to try to go downtown. I am definitely going to. I'm going to figure out the logistics. I am going to be like really trying hardcore to be there live on Thursday. I'm definitely doing it.
You just go to like your neighbor and be like, hey, can I get in the building? Thanks.
Well, it's going to be interesting how they do it. See, I don't know. It was Nashville, right, where it was outside, and they opened it up, and that's how they did it. I wonder if Cleveland will do the same. Not sure, but they're going to try to also have fans there, by the way, as well.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be outside. So like right by where the Brown Stadium is. So there's like a parking lot that's right by there. That's behind the stadium. They're gonna have it looks like this like inflatable like huge thing that they'll have as like a main stage, and then there's like a grassy area there, and then behind there's like a little bit more like grass that they do have. So there's like huge fields of like people that they can have. So I think that's what they're gonna probably do because I think they wanted to have the draft and then the lake behind it. So yeah. So hope to God that it's actually decent weather end of April in Cleveland, which. I mean, who knows what the heck it's going to be, but yeah, no, I'm excited. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
Oh hell yeah! And then to wrap up NFL talk, so right as March Madness was getting ready to go, Selection Sunday was finished, and the NFL said, no, we have to be in the news too, but in not a good way. Deshaun Watson. So all these, so a few sexual misconduct allegations started to come out, and at first I'm like, man, this seems odd. This seems really odd that now this is happening as Deshaun Watson continuously says he doesn't want to play for the Texans and that he ain't going to be here. and now these start to come out. And the first like allegation, like the statement from the attorney, sounded really weird, and I was like, oh, I don't know. But now the total, as of when I was doing the notes, climbed up to 14 sexual misconduct allegations against Deshaun Watson. I don't know. I don't know. Like I was listening to people talk about it. Some of them are like, well, I mean, in some of the cases you can kind of like, I don't know. But then there's some where you're pretty much like, ooh, that doesn't sound good at all. And not good. And I guess if you're one of these other teams that are ready to like sell the farm for Deshaun Watson, you're praying with Sister Jean there, and you're like, hey man, I guess thank the Lord we didn't. BK, here, your thoughts on this entire, as it continues to unfold, the situation with Deshaun Watson.
NFL did their best MLB with this coming out. Just to be honest, there, football did their best baseball impression. But unfortunately, it did seem a little sketchy at first. But like we've talked about on the podcast before, I will be inclined to believe the women in this case.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously he's innocent until proven guilty. But we do want comfortable environment for people to talk about this stuff. But I will say, like, on the other hand, if there is like, if there is lying or stuff like that, like, defamation lawsuits can really sink you. The Duke lacrosse team, when they had all that happen back up the 2000s back there with that whole incident, I feel like, if y'all remember that or not,
Yep,
you know what I'm talking about?
Yes,
yeah.
sir,
And so like, was inclined to believe her, and then, she was lying, and then she got sued out of the country essentially. But I mean, there's 14 now. There's 14. Math and math. You need 3 for a trend. We are well past the trend at this point. So this could be a pattern. But what I have read with some NFL execs is that they're going to do their own investigation. They're not going to even read into this right now. They're saying they're going to do their own investigation. Each team that is actually like vying for Deshaun. So we'll see. Deshaun seems pretty adamant that he is in the clear. So we're kind of at a standoff, and this news could really honestly like overtake like draft news. Like, completely honest. Like, I feel bad for the potential rookies getting drafted, but like this Deshaun news will be landmark. Like whichever way it turns.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Pete, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, with this whole thing, obviously it's, not a, great subject to bring up. I mean, obviously hope justice is served, with whatever, comes of, this. But yeah, I mean, when 14 comes up, that seems like it's a pretty big number. So that's very questionable, especially, I mean, people were talking about Deshaun Watson's like character, and I mean, you just heard in the media, prior to this, oh, Deshaun, does so much off the field. He's such a great guy, such a great leader, character guy. So it's like, all of a sudden this happens, and then it's the circumstances of like, you have like this, not great relationship that he obviously has with the Texans. So like, I don't know, are they leaking this? And like, I don't know. I mean, it's just a really bad situation, especially for the NFL. A young star like Deshaun Watson. I mean, the whole situation with him wanting to be traded has been really bad, and then this comes out for Deshaun. Yeah, I mean, obviously, we'll find out more information when they do a thorough investigation of all this. But yeah, I mean, this is crazy. This is crazy. This whole offseason that Deshaun Watson has gone through with the Houston Texans, starting from basically, wanting to leave, hating the relationship with them. I mean, not wanting to talk to them, to, this coming out. It's crazy. It's not a great look, but yeah, I mean, I think BK said the baseball thing. I mean, yeah, this is what happens usually in baseball. So there you go.
Baseball's decided, like, we're almost about to start the season. We're going to take a break of doing fucked up shit for a hot minute. We'll let somebody else do it. David, your thoughts here on the Deshaun Watson saga as this continues to unfold?
Obviously the timing of it just makes it what's so superstition about it, right? Like, everyone comes up with all these theories because of how bad mouthing he was doing to Houston, and then to where they've even said, well, the prosecuting lawyer is like, was friends with or not friends, or at least neighbors with like the Houston owner, and things of that nature, to where it just goes down a huge rabbit hole of you could just make up a whole bunch of hearsay, right? To where you lose precedent over the main fact that there's been 16 cases. It's actually 16 now, I think. I think I just read that somewhere. But overall, like, what makes me think that it's definitely probably true. I think most of it's true, right? Obviously he's a young star. It could be possible, but when he's saying that he's looking for a masseuse, okay, got it. But when you're looking for them constantly, it looks like, obviously, if you find a good person that massages you, you're probably going to stick with that person, correct?
Right.
You're going to keep using that person throughout the season and over and over. And this whole backstory was, oh, because of COVID, I had to switch and find different people or a different person, right? So he's either switching a lot, right? Or he couldn't find someone he liked for a whole season, but to have that many different girls makes it kind of suspicious a little bit, right? Now, did some of them... Now, am I going to say that all 16 of them probably... I don't know. I don't want to say like didn't want to do some of the stuff. They probably did, but because more cases come out, they're going to jump on with it and say that, yeah, that we had sexual encounters and stuff like that. But the whole problem is if you get one of these people that it doesn't happen to, and it's all lumped up in here, it makes all the other 15 look like they're lying too. So
Right.
when you have so many show up like this, if one person is just trying to get a payday with the rest of them, and it gets found out in court that nothing actually happened to that one person, well, then now it makes all the others come in question as well of how do I prove those, right? Because at this point, it's really just hearsay. I don't know how you're going to prove it, right? Because the fact that it probably... I don't know if he had them at his house. I don't know if there's security cameras. But other than that, is there any... Like how I don't know how you prove this, right? Because it's so long in the factors, so it's not like you have like, unless one of the ladies did a rape kit test or something like that. I don't know if there's any other way to prove it, right?
Right.
That would be the number one evidence, which is why they always suggest to do that, right? Even if you want to say, I think you could still do a rape test and still be anonymous on some of the aspects of the actions, just so that you have the evidence if you want to prosecute going forward. Not 100% on that, but I'm pretty sure you're allowed to if you're a girl for that aspect. Because I know it's hard for them to come out, and obviously it's always a tidal wave like this too. Once one comes out, they all start to come out, because we've seen this with the piece of shit from the gymnastic coach. You saw how once one comes out, then they all start to follow. So I'm not going to say just because now we see 16 all of a sudden that it's fake, right? Because it's literally what happened with the gymnastic coach. Once one came out, they all started to come out, and you had a lot. I think that was upwards nowhere near the hundreds, I think. So, so from that perspective, it's, to be honest, I really think he probably did stuff. So, and it just happened to be at the perfect time. And like, it's funny because I watched out of context, but I watched the Big Bang Theory out of like the show all the time. Mm-hmm. And one of the references, Howard tells Leonard that Penny's moving all of his toys out of his room, right? But he waited at the perfect time in the moment to strike the person when it would hurt them the most. This moment is the perfect time to strike a person when it would hurt them the most. Right. When they're demanding a trade, they're in a contract, they want to leave. This is the most news, because there's so much news going around the guy. You announce it now, it hits them the most. It hits them at right before the NFL draft, like Pete said, or BK said. It overshadows the NFL draft. It overshadows the whole offseason. It's the headline news. So it hits them where it's the most. That's why they did it at this time, I think. And then now it's just wait to see in court. I want to see some actual evidence, because I truly believe that this actually happened.
Yeah, I mean, from the moment when it happened with the lawyer contacting Deshaun and demanding $300,000, I think it was, and Deshaun like, what the fuck, like, no, and like, of course you have to just, with any allegations like this, you have to take them seriously, and we have to just see where the case goes. There's way too many variables involved to even make a solid assumption for at least for me, on what happened and what went down here. So we'll just have to see as the law takes its course and we go through the process. I think that wraps up NFL talk, but we can close out the show with what might have been one of the best March Madness opening weekends in quite some time. The madness was truly brought this past weekend. We got Friday, we got Saturday, we got Sunday, and we had Monday college basketball. It was absolutely just electric. It was fantastic from the jump. I think everyone's brackets were already kind of just completely fucked after the first night. Like already, it was like, oh, that's not looking good. Thanks, Ohio State. Yep, that's not looking good. Thanks, OSU. Not good. And a few others. So let's get into some of the stuff that happened. Of course, Oral Roberts had advanced to the Sweet 16 after knocking off Ohio State, and not just that, Florida, which was priceless because I saw a Florida fan, can't remember who she was on Twitter, but she was talking mad shit about Illinois losing to Loyola, and then just a few hours later, life comes at you fast, darling, and Florida loses to Oral Roberts. You got fucked up by a toothpaste company, let's remember that. Ohio did get it done in the very first round, baby, knocking off the defending champs, Virginia, which we were all very, very confident in. And then they lost to Creighton, but that's okay. Ohio still got it done. For a team that finished 5th in the regular season in the MAC, before the MAC tournament, you got to be pretty impressed, Pete, with what your Bobcats did.
Oh, dude. I mean, come on. Somebody's got to dethrone the champs. So, I mean, OU was up to the task. So, yeah, they dethroned the champs. And, obviously, shout out to Joe Burrow for buying shots at the CI.
Oh, yeah,
Legend.
Baby. Yeah.
Legend. Joe Burrow buying shots at the CI in Athens. And
it's a lovely
it's a fantastic place. But I just think it's fantastic that Joe Burrow didn't even go to OU, but decides to go to the Ohio game instead of LSU on Sunday. He's like, nah, or on Monday. He's like, nah, I'm good. I'd rather go see the Bobcats. And he was there with Frank Solich, OU's football coach, cheering on the Bobcats. So shout out to Joe Burrow for buying the shots and supporting the Bobcats. Athens through and through, baby.
That's right. OU, oh yeah. Abilene Christian shoots under 30% from the field, but still able to knock off Texas. Don't know what the fuck was going on there. Everyone really loved them some Shaka, including myself, and apparently there wasn't enough in there. That's not good.
Turnovers. That's what happened. 22 turnovers for Texas.
That's disgusting.
Well,
yeah.
I think the other thing that needs to be talked about is Shaka Smart having hair is like he's not a good coach anymore. He needs to go back to being bald, and he'll be a better coach.
Yeah. It's so weird. Just like I mean, I get it. Like COVID, no haircuts, but like I feel like he can bick that himself. Like just bick it, man. He was a good-looking bald man. I don't know,
man. I don't know, but I'll tell you what, Texas wasn't a good-looking basketball team. That's for damn sure. The Cuse is fucking loose, baby. Syracuse with Buddy Boeheim. They've knocked off San Diego State and the Huggy Bear, West Virginia, to advance to the Sweet 16. Boy, oh boy. I thought Syracuse would pull off the win the first round. Didn't think they'd knock off West Virginia, though. That was a surprise for a podcast that apparently last weekend loved them some Huggy Bear.
Yeah, I also like Syracuse. Father-son energy. I was talking about that. All right, and then I just didn't think they were gonna beat Huggy Bear. But hey, shout out to Cuse and Florida State holding it down for the ACC.
Buddy Bam's gonna be a great bowl.
Tournament. Two teams left in the tournament for the ACC.
There you go.
2 teams.
There you go. You got 2. That's not the most, but it's definitely not the least. Oregon State continues their hot streak after having a really great Pac-12 tournament. They continued it by beating Oklahoma State to advance to the Sweet 16. I was really all in on Cade Cunningham and pushing this team, especially after, which we'll get to what happened to the Illini. But Oregon State said, fuck that. We're the real orange team here, motherfuckers. The Beavers had some answers. They are hot, and I cannot wait for that matchup with Loyola and Oregon State. That is going to be fantastic on Saturday. I cannot wait. Quack, fucking quack, baby. There it is. I'll tell you, Thankful for our bracket, I guess. But Oregon gets it done, just pacing out, straight out murdering Iowa. Shout out to you, Garrett. Shout out to you, buddy. I will tell you what. Luka Garza, crying on the court. Yeah, couldn't get it done, motherfucker. Couldn't do it. You're not going to do shit in the NBA either, tell you that. Look how slow he moves. Come on, man. Come on.
Are you serious?
No.
Luka went off in that game. He's not the reason they lost.
I know. Luka did everything he could. I just am not a big fan of those Hawkeyes. Let me tell you, mostly because I think their coach is a piece of shit. But that is what it is. Luka did everything he absolutely could, and it's just they got just rolled by Oregon. Oregon would put 95 points. I think that's a record for that school in a tournament for them. My God, like I'm sitting here looking at it, and I'm like, okay, like. It was pretty close in the beginning. Like Luka's getting all the shots he wants. He's playing damn good big body ball. And then I just looked again and I'm like, oh no, like what's happening here? I'm like, is this real? Am I really watching Oregon and a coin flip come to fruition? Like my goodness, it's really happening. David, your thoughts? Your Ducks did it, dude. They did it.
I mean, it was great. It was a great game. I mean, it was nice because like, first of all, like first time we have Monday games, right? So I wasn't even thinking about it, right? And then I'm like, oh wait, the Oregon game is fucking at like fucking 8:00 in the morning, which is according to Pete, upset hour. So,
I thought it was, dude.
That's what I thought.
So
Yep.
it was great. So I'm sitting there just like, drinking my coffee, eating, having some breakfast, kind of like mid lunchtime, but I woke up a little bit late on Monday. So I was just kind of chilling and then started some work and had a game on another monitor. And I was like, oh, this is going to be great. And then I didn't want to jinx it. But then when we were up by like 15, I was like, yeah, I'm going to talk some shit now. So,
Quack, 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 quack. Oh, my Lord. It's insane. Gonzaga, obviously. There's nobody can beat Gonzaga. They're not. No one's losing. No, they're going to finish it. They're going complete. I mean, that team
You're darn right they
is
did.
like
They're gonna.
a clinic that they're putting on. Like, what's about to happen to the Creighton Blue Jays would go down as like, absolute destruction. Like, my goodness, that is.
Steppenwolf comes down with the axe on Superman, and he's just like, that's just King Gonzaga Superman.
Yeah.
Black suit Superman. Like, okay.
They're going to absolutely maul and destroy Creighton this weekend. They're so good. I talked about it, I think, with BK yesterday after the show, where I just said, like, part of my problems with Illinois was even when they played Drexel, like the first half, I'm like, oh, that's not what I want to see from my one seed. I want my one seed that just, boom, puts on the gas, like, let's go. And then they did in the second half. But the first half, it was a little shaky. Whereas Gonzaga, from the moment the tip-off happened, just boom, room, and they just rolled. And then they rolled Oklahoma as well. Not even a chance. Not even a chance. I think it was close for like 7 minutes. And then it was just utter destruction.
By close, it was like Oklahoma got it within like 6, I think.
Yeah.
But that was like the closest. Oklahoma never had the lead.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And then right now, Michigan is actually the lone survivor in the Big Ten. And that is going to go into everything here. Like, I know Pete and we got feelings. There has to be feelings in this moment here. When you go back and listen to our March Madness show, which you should, there was a lot of hype behind the Big Ten, which, as someone that watched Big Ten basketball all year long, I think it was rightfully, before the tournament started, it was rightfully so. It was one of the toughest conferences in basketball. It was hard games every single night, up and down that conference. And for them all to fall, besides Michigan, is so disgusting. And it just goes to show that, yet again, the Big Ten, utter disgraceful when it comes to the tournament. Just absolutely disgraceful. Pissed down their legs, I think, is what Josh said on Twitter. He very eloquently put it. That's exactly what they did. And It started with like Ohio State getting fucking rocked by Oral Roberts. They didn't get rocked; they lost by 3, but they lost to Oral Roberts. Where the only person I heard even think about picking Oral Roberts was David because of a bit. That was it. That was it. Because of Colgate. Yeah, because of Colgate, he was like, "Fuck, kind of got. I don't want to pick Oral Roberts just because of like the toothpaste thing." Like that's it. That's all there is, dude. That's it. And Ohio State loses them. When you come off of like almost beating Illinois in the Big Ten championship and like looking hot and you lose like that, awful Illinois. Listen, Loyola Chicago, hell of a club, hell of a group of guys there. They got mauled by a guy that has a worse mustache than me. I don't even know how that's possible, but he did. And the kid was absolutely fantastic. His mustache does look worse than mine, bro. Mine's like a little bit filled in just a little bit more.
It's not a very good one.
No, it's not. Wait, mine or his?
His.
Say the next statement very carefully. So what I will tell you is that dude's already balding too. Like, oh god. They still played great basketball. I think we talked about a little bit that we were pretty surprised that they were an 8 seed because of how good they were. This is a team that got to the Final Four a couple of years ago, and that they're just utterly disrespected by the committee. That is not an 8 seed. That team is much better than that, and they showed it. I mean, they absolutely dominated Illinois. Illinois from the jump just like couldn't figure it out. Io was getting wrecked. Kofi, did the best he could. It was just not good. Frazier's missing shots. Illinois, it is upsetting because that was the team, that felt like they were supposed to do it. Like from everything that happened with Brad Underwood coming in and Brad Underwood completely rebuilding the Illinois basketball culture. Because to be honest, like since 2005, it was pretty dog shit, and he rebuilt it. And with a lot of these guys, and they didn't get to go to the tournament last year because of COVID, which is awful. But like for it to end that way to that team, was really, really upsetting. And it was like just a terrible way to start my Sunday. Like I was just so sad. I was like, this is awful. I'm like, this is terrible. I'm like, I have to do a Weebisode and I don't even want to because I'm sad. I'm just depressed, not because of Illinois.
So I should have hit you with the Walmart cart.
Should have, dude. Oh yeah, that was good too. Walmart, and I'm like, who the fuck is just like out of the corner of my eye? Someone just flies in front of me with a cart. What a fucking asshole! It ended up being David and his wife. I was like, oh, what's up, dude? But yeah, it was really sad. It was really, really sad to see that happen, and the fact that Illinois just looked completely lost the entire time. wasn't even a fight. It's just that is upsetting. Obviously I still think Illinois next year, like they're going to be a good team, but that's the recruiting class is getting better. Cabello's, I think he's only a freshman. Like they're going to be good. But like this was the team, and to not see Kofi get it or Io or any of those guys, that's really, really, really rough. And I also want to point out, if there's ever a doubt, I will say this, like Luka Garza is probably going to win the Player of the Year. Io just completely gone, just disappeared in this game. Whereas, like I mentioned, Luka Garza was out there balling for his life in Iowa, trying to do everything he could as Oregon was mauling them. Pete, your thoughts on what happened there at the Illini?
I mean, for Illinois, like reflecting on it, on Sunday, obviously they're a 1 seed. You think it's disappointment, but you got to reflect on their season. I mean, they won the Big Ten tournament. That was a huge win for them, huge accomplishment for them to finish second in the conference. I still feel like the Big Ten is still the best basketball conference this year. I still feel like it is. I mean, you still had a lot of great teams. March Madness, I mean, it's just insane the way things happen. I mean, it's all about matchups, and I think the big thing is for the Big Ten, you don't have the coaching pedigree that like sometimes other conferences have, and I think that has a lot to do with it. Because you look at the Big Ten, Underwood, this is his like first time really being a higher seed. He got outcoached by Porter Moser. Like he definitely got outcoached. I don't blame really the players on that. I don't know if like they just didn't listen to Brad or what it was, but they made no adjustments. So I feel like that was a huge thing. For Ohio State's loss, I mean, yeah, like Oral Roberts, I can't remember the dude's name, but he's like one of the leading scorers. Like, figure it out, cover him. Like, you have 5-star recruits. Figure it out. Okay, so that's from Ohio State's perspective. Michigan's always been good in the tournament. They just have had that experience, and I think that's what it goes a long way to. So yeah, it sucks that there's only one Big Ten team, but like, let's not freak out about it and just like say, oh, because one weekend, all of a sudden the Big Ten's trash. Like, let's just calm down here. All right, let's take it from a like whole perspective. Big Ten still had a great year. It sucked that this is what happened to it. But in terms of Loyola, Ryan, the kid's name is Cameron Krutwig. Man, that guy's a stud.
Yeah.
The guy's a stud. I mean, you got to think that's a Loyola team. You mentioned it. Went to the Final Four a couple of years ago. Got absolutely shit on like for their seeding of an 8 seed. And like, yeah, I get it. If Illinois wants to win the national championship, they would have to play Loyola at some point. Yeah, I understand that. But like, maybe in the Sweet 16, maybe Elite 8. I don't know, something like that. That would have been cool. But yeah, it sucks from Illinois' perspective, but hey, Illinois is back on the map. Like, you think about it from the perspective of Illinois. If you're Io, I mean, do you go into the draft? I don't know. You didn't really like. It wasn't the greatest ending to your year. You still have that extra year of eligibility here. You bring, I don't think Coburn's gonna come out. So like, I mean, because he didn't have the greatest showing. Like, what is he gonna maybe a late round pick? I mean, he's only a sophomore. You bring him back. Illinois is still loaded. So I'm trying to look at it from a positive lens. It sucks, but I mean that's just what it is. Like for March Madness, and you got to think too. This is also, you know what? Hey, ultimate fullback plan. This is a COVID year. Okay, they had to be in a bubble. So guess what? If it was normal, get the Big Ten fans, we would have been fine. So that's right. That's what happened. So whatever.
I will say this.
Screw it.
Shout out to a Michigan team finally winning at Lucas Oil Field. I don't know if Jim Harbaugh probably doesn't know what that feels like, but
yeah. Hey, hold on, Ryan. To your point about Jim Harbaugh, Oral Roberts has more wins against Ohio State than Jim Harbaugh.
Boom! Fuck you, Dan. There you go, because he's a Michigan fan. Sorry, everybody. Big Blue. David, another man we were riding this Illinois train, the Illini train. Your thoughts on what happened there against Loyola?
I mean, it's rough, right? Because I know we talked about it when we were together this weekend. I literally said if Loyola played almost any other team this week, Loyola would win. I would pick them to win. It just happened to be they fell against Illinois, to where I'm going to pick Illinois instead. That was the only difference maker. But yeah, the disrespect to give them an 8 seed to begin with. We're talking about a team that was ranked 17th in the country at the end of the season, right? Ranked 17th.
Yep.
And they got an 8 seed. But now, Virginia was 15th. I get that they're defending champs, but they were a 4th seed, right? You have Kansas at 12. That was a 3 seed. You have Kraken, who's 15, right? 15. They're about to get manhandled by
Gonzaga.
By Gonzaga. They were 19th at the ending, below Loyola, right? 19th overall. They were a 5 seed. So how the hell does Loyola get a fucking 8 seed? So disrespect. And then Purdue. I mean, Purdue, I know they're coming out of the Big Ten, right? So
they're boring.
A little bit more credit.
Yeah, they stink.
They were 20th.
We disown them.
Right? I can just keep going down. There's not one team that's in this top 25 that's lower than Loyola or even the same rank. Everything is above them. I think Virginia Tech was a 6 seed. I know USC is a 6.
Mm-hmm.
BYU, I don't remember what BYU was.
BYU was a 6.
A 6.
They were
Yep.
6.
Yeah.
See? So the lowest I've seen is 6, except for Loyola. So the disrespect is there, right? If you're gonna have a top 25 ranking at the very end of the season, this is what you come up with, and that's just the AP, right? In the coaches ranking, Loyola is 16th, so they're even better in the coach ranking. So I don't know which one they're using, right? But either way, they're still in the top 20. I don't know. They should have figured something out there. They definitely should have been an 8th seed. Now, as the Pete point, yeah, eventually, Illinois probably would have had to face them at some point, but yeah, they shouldn't have been in the round of 32. So, it is what it is. It sucks. It's horrible. I missed the first half because we fucking didn't come home until like fucking 4 o'clock in the morning.
Oh yeah, we were out late Saturday. Yeah, getting hustled.
We were out fucking super late. I woke up to a shitload of text messages like, "Oh, it's not looking good." And then I go to ESPN, like, "Yeah, it definitely doesn't look good." And I started watching the rest of the half, and it was just like literally score for score, score for score, score for score. And it was never, there was nothing, there was no closing impact. Like every time we'd score, they score, or we miss, they miss. It was like no one took a big lead that whole second half. It was just literally just back and forth, and no one. That's just how it stood. It was rough to watch, but sadly, it is what it is. And now, I will say that Loyola is going to beat the shit out of Oregon State because fuck the Beavers.
Ramble on, baby.
Gotta say that.
Let's go.
Even though someone's gonna probably give me a disrespect right now in the in the Twitch chat, but yeah, I'm gonna say it.
When we're out here doing the good stuff, and we're talking about Illinois. I was thinking about that. I lost my train of thought, but Illinois, like for us in general, like out here in the Midwest, right? College sports aren't. I don't know how I want to phrase this. No. It's not that it's not good. How do I want to phrase this? Like
fun to watch.
Okay, BK is an infatuation with the ACC, right? And how much he loves the ACC, right? Do you love the ACC, correct? Like I'm just asking.
There's a lot of national championships for basketball there.
Right. Which is fine. Which is good. No, but that's not my point. My point
now for football too. Like,
my point is that you have that region. God. You have that region of the country that then like that's what they gravitate to. You right. You gravitate to the ACC, or if you're down south, you gravitate to the SEC. Yes, we gravitate to the Big Ten, but it always feels like in our neck of the woods that we're just like how we all, the three of us right here, boom, 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 boom. We talked about Loyola. We're sad Illinois lost, but now they're playing Oregon State. So let's go, ramble on, baby. We're going to Loyola. Like, we just move on to the next school that's in our area, bro. Like, this is just what we do. Like, I love Illinois. I do very much. My sister goes to school there, and it's great. And I buy all the gear, and I rep it, and I will all the time. I still get goosebumps thinking about the 2005 team and, like, how that was probably the first time in my life that I felt like a connection to a school being from this area. Like, you know what I mean? And I will always feel that way. So I was really excited. I am disappointed in this. But BK, I want to go to you here on your thoughts on what happened with Loyola in Illinois, because I think we haven't addressed the real cause of what happened.
Yeah, well, so we were talking about this pre-show or post-show yesterday, is that I think there's a lot going into this, is where maybe the committee was kind of sucking on the dicks of all the Power 5 programs because we didn't see the small programs play as much because the TV contracts were all wacky and zany, all that good stuff. But most importantly is that, especially like Loyola Chicago, just like all these underdog seeds, like all Roberts, where they have a lot of returning players. They've done this before. They're an actual team. They've been a team. And in this COVID offseason and even season, everything's been funky. The new guys, like new transfers for incoming freshmen, can't get into a groove. They can't get into anything. They're not even staying at the dorms. They're not eating at the dining halls. There we go. The dining halls normally. Nothing is normal. There's no standard operating procedure for the guys to get into a groove. And I think you really, really, really saw that this tournament. You saw the teams. Literally the teams, the guys where they've played together, they know each other, they know each other's just rhythm, idiosyncrasies, all that stuff. You saw them really come together in a tournament, because guess what? When you're in a bubble, you're probably only going to see those guys. You're going to have to know them great. Like, if you don't, it piss you off. Like, that's. So I think you really saw that aspect that we all overlooked, and that the committee absolutely overlooked. Absolutely overlooked all the mid-major teams. Absolutely, everyone just wrote them off, and it's just it goes to show that. But it's honestly things of college basketball. This is why college basketball will always be better than college football for me. And ACC guy, so yeah, there is bias there, but because in college basketball, the Mid-Americans can do stuff like this. They can shock the world, and they can make runs, and they can make a lot of money for their school and for their conferences. You can't do that in college football. Right. It's impossible. The way the powers that be, Power 5, just calling out the Big Ten here, calling out the ACC, I'm calling out everyone because fan of the American Conference. They make it so hard for the Mid-Americans, the smaller guys, to do anything. That's why people love college basketball, and they will always love March Madness because of this, that dynamic factor of that underdog, that scrappy guy, like the Rudy, those stories that we all gravitate towards as a nation. We latch onto those stories. The underdog, David versus Goliath. We'll never get that in college football. We'll never get anything like this. And honestly, we all forgot about that. We all forgot about that this year. And guess what? David came to play.
I'm really glad with that point. That's not where I thought you were going, but I'm really glad with that point.
So Brian's on a delay